Now time to talk to the head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Brian Schottenheimer. It's brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. And Shotty, Will Chambers here. It's great to meet you. I'm in for Sean. I know that shocks you to no end.
Yeah, hey, listen, there's no better way to start the new year than to do this show with guys I actually like, Will. And you and Bobby are clearly my two favorites on the show, and can't wait to talk a little bit of ball with you guys.
We're just going through the clips. I mean, what a great year it's been. And I, as a part of the station, but certainly as a big part of the audience, have enjoyed listening to you guys throughout the season. And really, just in general, I want to ask you, in looking over your career and how long you were an offensive coordinator through the years, then some time off, you're back, some time off. And when you were hired, I don't think it's any surprise that to you to hear that it was a surprise for a lot of people when the Dallas Cowboys have a head coaching position that's open. All the names that you hear from the Adam Schefters of the world, of these big name coaches, and all of a sudden, wow, it's Brian Schottenheimer. What do you think about your career leading up to it, and how different are you of a coach now as to where you were back when your name was preeminent among those coaching searches?
Yeah, I think it's like life, Will. Honestly, like when I first broke into coaching, I wanted to go and just learn from different people. So what I kind of did was I bounced around, man. I mean, my first job ever was with Dick Vermeil in St. Louis. I was kind of like a offensive assistant. I used to have to sit on the floor in meetings and listen to Dick Vermeil and Jim Hanifin and Bud Carson was our defensive coordinator. And, I learned so much about football. Then I spent a year in Kansas City with my dad. Then I went to Syracuse to learn, to get a chance to actually coach a position. I coached receivers and was the passing game coordinator there. And then I made a decision I wanted to learn more about the run game. So I go to USC out with Paul Hackett, and I learned tight ends, and I coached the tight ends because I wanted to learn the run game. And I just think, then I got an opportunity to coach quarterbacks, and that was something that I loved and I was passionate about. I played quarterback, and when I got my first coordinator job, things were very, very good, and we were rolling, and we were having a lot of success. And first year, big turnaround. We go to the playoffs with the Jets, and we were one of the best offenses in the league. And you start getting interviews and stuff, and then things like in life, man, things turn, and then you're like, okay, well, you decide after 6 years in New York, hey, I'm gonna do something different. It was time for a change. You go to St. Louis. You're coaching Sam Bradford, and Sam's getting hurt every year, and you're like, man, well, this isn't what I signed up for. And and then you just keep going, man. And I think when I came to Dallas as a consultant, I really did it because I wanted to be in a building, because I love coaching. I love being around people. There were some great people that I'm very, very close to, Dan Quinn, Mike McCarthy, people like that, certainly guys I've gotten to know. And I've always been the same guy every day, man. And that's kind of what motivates me. And whether you're the hottest name as a 32-year-old, as a coordinator of the New York Jets, and you're turning down jobs and things like that, or whether you're coaching quarterbacks in Jacksonville and, you're working for Urban Meyer and it's not going great. Then the next year, like, what are you going to do? You make decisions. But at the end of the day, man, I think good coaches are good coaches, but it's more than that. When you sit in a position as a head coach, it's not just about X's and O's. Hell, I wish I did more X's and O's. This is funny. I wish I could talk more ball. But at the end of the day, man, there's so many things where it comes down to leadership and holding people accountable and work ethic and connection and culture and things like that. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes in life and in the world, people get caught up in names and things like that, and not, hey, who's really qualified for the job and why?
Yeah, where do you think that it's when the narratives around coaching and coaching searches is mostly wrong, or maybe just misanalyzed when it comes to assessing coaches for jobs, or how well or how poorly they do one?
Yeah, well, I think the media is so powerful, and that's our life, and that's great. And, we wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't such a powerful thing and people weren't interested in what we had to discuss and talk about. Social media obviously has taken over. So what I would say to you with that is, like, again, I think that the media side of this is awesome, and there's a lot of really great coaches that do a really great job that get some incredible recognition because of the fact that their teams are putting up great numbers or keeping people out of the end zone on defense and things like that. But I do think that there's another layer to this, and it's the guys like myself, and I use myself just because you asked the question, that have been long time NFL coaches doing it at a high level, some good years, some bad years, but at the end of the day, they've got special traits that people like to follow, and they know how to create chemistry and things like that. And I think those are the ones that, to me, are harder to find. But when you find a good one, I think it gives you a real chance. And what benefited me certainly was being in the building as a consultant. I tell people all the time, I'm like, just be the same guy every day, but do your job to the best of your ability every day, and people will find you. I mean, I'm a consultant, and I'm the coordinator. I'm not even calling the plays, and then a couple years later, I'm sitting in this amazing chair.
Brian Schottenheimer joining us here on 105 Through the Fan. Shotty, you talk about it there, the names and the reputations that exist for coaches across the league. And I know you went into your process a little bit before the season about how you developed some of the names that you wanted to put on your coaching staff. So, as the season's coming to an end, and, inevitably guys are going to get other jobs, or maybe somebody's going to get a promotion somewhere else, and you're going to end up losing some people in all likelihood. Does that process start over for you again to cultivate names, or is that something that you work to keep a running tab on of just like, hey, I got to have some names in my head just in the event that we're without a coach at this position?
Yeah, it's a little bit like personnel. How we say that personnel is always 24/7, 365. I mean, you never lose sight of okay, who are you? Who are the top coaches in certain positions? You always have a depth chart. You always have a list of names where, hey, if I lose so and so, and hey, they come and take this coach from me or whatever. You've always got a list of names, but I enjoy the process and I think you have to take your time to go through the process. What you don't want to do is, just because I have a list of, let's say you lose a tight end coach or a defensive back coach, you've got a list of coaches, but I enjoy the process. And I think it's important to go through the process to make sure you don't just get a good coach, you get a good leader, a good man, a good father, a guy that's going to fit into your culture, along with a guy that can teach fundamentals and scheme. And hey, here's how you release, or here's how you block a 9 technique on power, or here's how you reroute and cover 2. All those things go into it, because when you add a member to your staff, you're really adding a member to your family, and you're bringing them into what you're trying to develop, which is one of the greatest cultures in professional sports that's hopefully becoming a championship team here next year. And that's something that takes a lot of time and sacrifice to get right.
You've gotten plenty of questions the last couple of weeks about Joe Milton, somebody you talked about a lot over the summer, and how he was somebody who needed more time on task and things throughout training camp, and that's why you guys were trying to give that to him. But I'm curious, there's some parallels, I think, in terms of capital that was given up and the position that they're in behind an established quarterback between the situation with Trey Lance and now the situation with Joe Milton. Did you learn anything or take anything from the experience with how you guys handled Trey Lance and are able to apply it or change it up differently with Joe Milton?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you look at each situation, they're a little bit different. Like they both have attributes that I think are really, really incredible. I'll speak more to Joe just because Joe's a guy that's currently on our roster, and just his arm talent is. Everybody wants to talk about the velocity, and how far he can throw it. But when you just talk about a guy like Joe Milton, I mean, you talk about the accuracy and the ability to make all the throws and off-platform throws, and he is just incredibly talented. Where Trey's a great quarterback in his own right, but he plays a little different. He's more of a runner, and I think we saw something in Joe that wanted to make us make the trade, and he is not disappointed. Again, I think he's just the future. It looks so bright for him, and learning this system and doing things he's never been asked to do. From Michigan to Tennessee, it's been cool for me to watch him pick up on some of the things, and it takes time. I mean, it really does. It's not something that's built overnight. And again, we're very, very excited to have Joe be part of our football team.
Coach, look, it's been a struggle this year on defense. And as a first-time head coach and as really an offensive coach, as your background coming in, how hard is it, for you in your first year while you're on the sidelines and you're the head coach of the entire team, and yet, the side of the ball that you really haven't been a part of is struggling. How is that, for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the game. It's what you sign up for as a head coach. And believe me, there's been times this year where, we haven't done enough good things on offense. And, again, I'm going to be judged and we're going to be judged based on wins and losses and not, okay, what does stats look like on this side of the ball or all three phases, offense, defense, special teams. And, again, I think one of my strong suits is when you're an offensive coach, you understand what causes you problems. And so when you go into meetings and you're in and around the staff or watching some of the things they're doing and we're talking and I'm telling them some of the things that I want, it's based on things that give me problems and things that kind of keep me up at night and things I'm like, man, this is kind of a pain in the ass. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of value in that. Game day is a little bit more difficult because you are trying to call the game and things like that. That's real. But at the end of the day, one of my strengths is my ability to kind of, number one, I work really, really hard, and then time management, something I think I'm really good at. But it's all part of the process, and every head coach goes through it.
Are there defensive coaches that you're just like, God, I hate facing their defenses? Like, who are the guys that give you the biggest problems?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, it's not even. I'm not even going to use a guy. I mean, it's guys that they do a great job with their disguises and coverage. They do a great job with their different blitz packages. They change up their fronts, things like that. There's certainly things that you're like, okay, you look at the schedule, like you'll play somebody, you'll get a win, and you'll get on the team plane, or you'll get in the car to head home. And you're like, oh shoot, we're playing so and so next week. You're like, dang, and it literally you're kind of like, oh man, because you just know it's going to be a unique week. It's going to be a different week, and I think that's on all three phases. I mean, literally, there's been times you're like, man, we play this special teams unit next week, or hey, we got to play this offense next week. And I think that just shows you how much respect we all have for one another and what we do in this business. And what we do is very, very difficult. And it's not just the X's and the O's. It's getting the X's and the O's in front of your players and making sure it's things that they can do well, and then getting them to practice it to do it at the highest level on game day.
Brian Schottenheimer with us here on 105 Through the Fan. Shotty, you've talked about how December football is a different animal and how teams rise or fall for various reasons, and there's history tied to that. Your team obviously struggled in December this year. Was there anything that you're looking back on and you go, yep, there it is. I recognize that. I know that's something teams fall victim to in December, and we just fell victim to it this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, I totally agree that December football is different. I think you saw us last week kind of play when we played Washington, a kind of a December-type game, if you will. We controlled the ball, and, we were at 38 minutes, whatever it was. We ran for a season-high 200-something yards, whatever. I think that is a little bit of December football. You're playing outside in the elements, and it wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm either. And so I think that's part of it. And we didn't play that way throughout December. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I look at when I look at the teams that are advancing into the playoffs or competing too is it's all about the ball and the turnover battle. And quite honestly, we did not do a good enough job with that in either phase. I think we're -7, -8, something like that. And quite honestly, that's terrible. And you just go pull up the top teams in the league. I think the Bears are the top team, whether they're 20 or plus 18 or something like that. And how many of those teams are in the playoffs? It's a pretty simple formula. And it's certainly something that we will correct, and we will be much, much better at that next year. Because if you don't, then usually you're going to be on the outside looking in when you get into the postseason.
And last one here for you, Coach. You obviously want to compete until the end. You've really underlined that point in the last couple weeks. But with some of the CBA limitations that exist with practices and stuff, how much of these last couple games are also just an opportunity to, for lack of a better term, steal time on task for guys who are going to be back here next year?
Well, again, I think we try to do that all the time. I mean, we're always trying to develop our guys. A huge part of what our job is as coaches is to develop young players. And for example, I'll use Jaden Blue. I mean, Jaden's a guy that has been getting better, and he has been improving. Has it been up and down and inconsistent? Absolutely, it has. But that's part of young players. But it doesn't mean that we're not excited to have Jaden. It doesn't mean we don't expect great things from Jaden. And we're always trying to do that. But at the same time, I talk about a lot, and again, it's not just the young players; it's everybody. When you talk about competing every day, it's all about winning. Then there is a standard, and that standard has to be upheld. And whether you're going to play, more young guys, or they're trending to play, because of the type of season or whatever it is, they still have to earn it, because that's what is required here. If you're a member of the Dallas Cowboys.
Schotty, it's been a terrific season hearing from you week in and week out. We really appreciate it. To you and yours, have a terrific offseason.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Happy New Year, and I really do mean this. I never thought I'd enjoy having conversations with you guys every Friday, but you guys are great. And, again, Will, nice to meet you, Bobby. Let's talk some ball a little bit more over the offseason.
Always, Schotty, yeah.
Sounds good. Take care.